Welcome to Surviving Wokeland with Ethan Quinn, a channel dedicated to exposing and explaining the ideology driving wokeness. During the Middle Ages, a Christian cult known as the Flagellants emerged. Flagellation is a practice that involves whipping or flogging oneself or someone else as a form of punishment. Flagellation was indeed a cult that arose during a period characterized by fear, superstition, and uncertainty. Its followers believed that by subjecting themselves to self-inflicted physical punishment through whipping, they could atone for their own sins and the sins of others, thereby hoping to spare society from perceived divine retribution by God. Today, we have a new form of flagellation. It's known as white guilt.
White guilt has to happen. It's a developmental need. If you believe in equity and you live in this kind of system and you're white, you're going to hit white guilt.
Here it is, right here. There you go. Mr. White Man, get these white women and get these white people a hand, man. Keep on coming. Keep on coming. Keep on coming, Mr. White Man. Keep on going. Keep on going, man. Most High in Christ, man. You understand? Now, they showing what it means to really salute our prophets and the priests of the Lord. Right. Keep going. Keep going. The party out. Show y'all. Come on, folks, get your boot kissed, man. Get properly saluted. Get properly saluted, man.
Keep doing what y'all doing, man.
Get properly saluted. Everybody, come get properly saluted, man. This is a white couple right here that's proving that they.
We are inherently a danger in spaces for Black, Indigenous, and other people of color simply by existing. And when we choose not to recognize that, and acknowledge that and navigate the world with that knowledge, we go from being dangerous to being an active threat.
Marxism has fooled many into joining a new religious cult called wokeness. In every religion, there is good and evil. In the cult of wokeness, white people are portrayed as evil. In this cult, no evil is acknowledged to have existed prior to white people committing crimes against people of color. All history prior to this is simply ignored. In the cult of wokeness, historical facts about slavery, colonization, and conflicts among people of color are similarly disregarded. History is said to begin when the white man took the first black slave. Wokeness is a massive con. It pretends to be about so-called social justice, but in truth, it is nothing more than a Trojan horse infiltrating society to prepare the way for a Marxist takeover. To prepare society for a Marxist takeover, one must first destroy that society through a process known as creating a counter-hegemony. Wokeness is achieving this by using the concept of white guilt as the original sin. In this cult, all social problems are attributed to whiteness. By demonizing white people as oppressors and then labeling Western society as a product of whiteness, it creates an environment where Western society self-flagellates itself, dismantling everything positive about Western society and creating a destructive counter-hegemony under the false pretense of atoning for white sin. Society needs to wake up to the con of wokeness. This cult has nothing to do with fighting racism or creating so-called social justice. Wokeness uses race as a means of tearing society apart and creating a destructive anti-culture.
Why do liberal whites rush into this whole trans movement? This is a very important thing going on. You can understand that liberal whites have a guilt from being white vis-a-vis blacks and the whole history of slavery, etc. So you can understand that there is a white guilt. But how is it related to the trans movement? Why is it that the trans movement will somehow allow them to wash their white guilt? This is an important point that I want to discuss. You see, being a white race person is something biological. It's by birth. You cannot change it. It's not a social construct. But being a trans person, your sexuality and your gender is considered to be a social construct, which means it can be changed. So while you cannot get rid of your being white, you can transform your sexuality and gender through the trans movement. So what is happening is whites are being bullied by critical race theory into a guilt, and then they're being offered a redemption, an escape plan. Turn trans, and because it's a social construct, you can opt out of your gender and your sexuality, and therefore you become a victim. As in the trans movement, you are a victim. So while being a white, you were the oppressor and the blacks were the oppressed, but through trans, the magic is you get transformed into a victim, because now you're in the trans movement and you're a victim of the straight people. Okay, so this is a plan to get you out of the white guilt through this trans movement into being the oppressed, being a victim, and hence your guilt is whitewashed. Let me summarize one more time. It's a two-part plan. Part one, give them white guilt. That's the critical race theory. Give them white guilt and tell them that there's nothing you can do about it because you cannot change your race. And then say, aha, but the trans movement is allowing people to change their sexuality and gender from oppressor to oppressed. So if you become trans, you are part of the oppressed, and guess what? You are no longer the oppressor. So the white liberals feel that by joining the trans movement, by supporting the trans, they're somehow washing off their white guilt. So it is really a way to get rid of white guilt, and that's what my explanation is of this whole movement. Thank you.
White people have no responsibility to bear the guilt of the past or apologize for things they didn't do.
Is Soil Braverman right to say that white people shouldn't walk around with this sense of collective sin and guilt for history, things that happened before they were born?
Absolutely. I mean, Patrick, if we go down this road, where does it end, right? Do I have a claim to say that the Vikings came over to the northeast of England back in the day? Do we have a claim to say that in 1066 the French show us a penny or two? How about the Romans? Maybe my ancestors were Irish. Maybe I've got claim to trace Oliver Cromwell's family and track them down for a bob or two. This is just obscene. Of course people shouldn't be walking around feeling guilty.
And hatred directed at white people is as evil as racism against any other group.
And I feel bad for y'all. Not that bad, though, because your ancestors suck and you're stinky and evil. But bad enough where I want to call you out and tell you not to leave comments like this because it's crusty. Anyways, for all the bleach demons willing to learn, I see you. You're not as bad as the rest.
That's a wrap for today's video. If you found this exploration of wokeness enlightening, please share this video. If you have thoughts or experiences to share, kindly leave a comment below. You can also support this channel by downloading my book, Ministry of Truth: How Propaganda Fuels the Culture War. And please join me every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday as we learn how to survive Wokeland together. Until then, this is Ethan Quinn saying, stay free.